James Kennedy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so this is Bride of the Tornado. There's copies for sale up there if this intrigues you. Let me get this up. Is that all right? And so this novel is about it's set in about the 1980s, like the Midwest. It's this small town that's always besieged by these monstrous, sentient tornadoes. And there's this boy, and nobody can, and when tornado season comes, nobody can leave the town, and kind of nobody can come in either. There's this boy, known only as a tornado killer, who has the ability to punch and kick and wrestle and beat the shit out of tornadoes. But he is not the main character of the book. The main character is this girl in town who is kind of fascinated by the tornado killer. And he's about 15, she's about 15 or 16. And she's fascinated by him, and she starts investigating him and finding clues around town that indicate that they might be linked in some way, and they enter into this dangerous relationship, and they find out what the thing that the town has planned for them, which is something very grisly indeed. So, Bride of the Tornado, and I'm going to read a part from the beginning. This is the first chapter. It's Tornado Day. This has never happened in the town before, as far as this girl knows. She's woken up early. She and her sister have to go to school really early in the morning. They all have to go into the gym. There's an assembly. They say, oh, you're going to meet the tornado killer today. Never heard of a tornado killer. These men bring this box onto the stage, and out of the box comes this boy. And they're like, this is a tornado killer? And he makes this weird alienating speech. All the kids start to turn against him. The bullies kind of rush the stage to get him. He looks up at the heroine. They kind of lock eyes. They kind of understand something about each other at that moment. Then all the lights go out and tornadoes hit the school. And that's where I'm going to begin. I was blasted out into the main hallway, books and papers and desks, and a kid flew past me, hurtling down the corridor. Locker doors were torn from their hinges, walls collapsing, windows cracked and shattered and bled down the hall in glittering streams. A flying chair clipped the side of my head, and I flew out of the school and up into the sky as though I'd been shot out of a gun. I tumbled through the churning air. The world came at me in flashes. I blacked out, and then I was flopped out on the grass, on the playground behind the school, staring up at the monstrous, spinning tornado. There were others sprawled in the field all around me. I didn't know if they were alive or dead. The roar of the tornado was deafening. My head throbbed from where the chair hit me. I was surrounded by floating papers and fluttering scraps of books and heaps of desks, staring at our school and how the tornado was already relentlessly taking it apart, whipping around faster and faster, a tremendous howling blur, ripping the roof into ribbons that went flying up into the air, strips of roof fluttering up like tentacles, reaching to the sky and waving around. And then the entire roof lifted off the school. The school just shrugged it off like it didn't need a roof anyway. And then the tornado was rapidly feeding on the school, tearing off bricks, slurping out the plumbing, chewing the girders, the entire building getting bent, twisted, liquefied, gurgled, and spit into the sky. I was going to die. We were all going to die together. We were too close to this uncontrollable killing thing. The tornado whipped around with vicious energy, chewing through the wreckage, tearing apart the jumbled tables and cracked chalkboards, but almost with a kind of furious intent, like it was hunting for a retainer it had accidentally thrown away. I lay among the shredded book reports and wrecked dioramas, my head ringing, too terrified to move. Our school was destroyed. Except for one thing. A stairwell of the school still remained, plus a little bit of the third-floor hallway jutting out of it, where the janitor's closet was. But there was no third floor anymore, no second floor, no school, just a stairwell shell of bricks and girders supporting the janitor's closet 3 stories up in the air, alone. I saw the door rattling. Someone was in there. Lightning shimmered in the dark green sky around us. Everything felt unreal. I tried to scramble up to run away. The tornado churned forward and engulfed the stairwell and the janitor's closet, swirling around it as though ravenous. It ripped the door off. The tornado killer was inside the closet, crumpled against the wall. His face was bloody. He held up a trembling hand as if to say, please, no more. Someone had beaten him up. The spindly mortar and metal structure that held up the closet collapsed. The tornado killer fell out. He dropped 2 stories and hit the ground. His body lay on the grass, not moving. The tornado blasted toward him. The ringing in my ears had receded enough that I could hear the little kids crying and the teachers shouting. The tornado killer was about to get shredded. Someone should have helped him. Nobody did. I stared at the tornado killer. This boy was all there was between us and this monstrous spinning funnel roaring out of the darkness. The tornado killer stirred. Other kids looked away. As unpopular as he had made himself, nobody wanted to see what we all knew would happen next, what would happen to all of us. We were all wrong. The tornado killer lifted his head from the dirt. Shakily, he lifted his left hand. The air changed. The tornado staggered back, still swirling, but woozily swaying, dipping back and forth. And the tornado killer leaped up. Keeping his left hand raised, he sliced his right hand through the air. The tornado reeled. I felt the air change, prickly and hissing. The tornado killer advanced on the tornado, waving, pointing, and kicking, waving, pointing, and punching. His face was cruel, and his eyes shone. The tornado wobbled, staggered, screamed. I choked. I couldn't breathe. My body felt as if it was floating. The tornado killer then raised up both hands, gathering up the whirling tornado into a frenzied, narrowing cone. He stretched it taller, narrower, thinner, like it was a string of taffy, thinner, a long, thin, frantically spinning column. The tornado killer drew his hands closer together. The column tightened, spun faster, faster, closer. The tornado was a wildly wobbling, infinitely lengthened thread. The tornado killer clapped, pop, and there was nothing left of the tornado but the stirring of grass at our feet. Silence. The tornado killer stared at all of us with brutal eyes. I was afraid he would look at me again. He didn't. An easy one, he said. Then the tornado killer limped away. Nobody followed him, but I wanted to.